We all came out over here at the road. We looked up at I-84, and we saw this huge object just hovering over the truck in kind of a shape of an L, with all lights, like a city of lights.
There were about 20 or 30 more lights in the back, red, blue, greens, beautiful colors. It looked like a Christmas tree in the sky. It didn't look like an airplane to me. I'm familiar with airplanes. I was an aircraft mechanic in the Air Force for 3.5 years. Planes, when they fly in formation, I don't care how tight they are, they have a tendency to move up and down, in and out, so forth and so on. These lights never wavered. They stayed exactly even as it was one object and made the slow turn.
When I walked away from it, at that point, it started to rotate virtually, almost as it was on an axis. It didn't make a big loop. It just rotated.
It appeared, as I said, to rotate in the sky, change lights. Aircraft, I don't care how well precise you want to be in flying those suckers, you're not going to be able to make them move 90 degrees. All right, this thing did apparently rotate. You can't do that with aircraft.
Now, the speed at which it was going at that point was very slow, because I had to walk at a very slow, deliberate gait to keep up with the lights. For every step I took, it moved a little bit.
It moved in a very straight line, very slowly. There was absolutely no noise.
It was just a tremendous object. It was anywhere from wingtip to wingtip, about 50 or 60 yards. You know, the movement was almost like a probing movement. It was very slow, and it stopped periodically and stationary, where it just came to a standstill, and then it would move to another position, and the movement from one position to another was just extremely slow.
I looked up, and right over my head, virtually, and it wasn't far up, it was right over my head and very still, there was a rim of lights in the shape of a triangle. I know what it wasn't. It wasn't an ultralight. It wasn't a blimp. It wasn't gas. No one's tried to tell me what it was, but I know what it wasn't. The government didn't come to me as a rational individual. Now, as an accountant, I like concrete things. I like evidence. For them to say that I didn't see anything without really talking to me and investigating it, it means that they were trying to hide something. And that was my feeling from the very beginning.
They know something, okay? They know something. Either they know that there's something up there and they want to investigate it themselves and don't want other people trying to handle it, or they're doing something. But if they're doing something, then let people know about it.
Others watched a large triangular object with 3 large white lights underneath. One local resident phoned the Fyffe Police Department after watching a crescent and triangular-shaped object pass over the treetops.
And he had three huge, like spotlights, kind of triangle shape, with the one being more toward the front. But they were not shining. They weren't shining at the ground. They were like shining back up on the craft itself. So I asked the chief. I said, "Cut the car engine off." And like I said, there was no other background noises. The car was dead. You know, we shut the engine down. It was dead. And here this big object come flying over. And I mean, if you put your hands up like this, that's about how big it looked to you. Bigger than a beach ball, you know. That's bigger. And we watched it fly over us, and then we turned, no sound whatsoever. We watched it go off south and west of us. Never a sound. If we'd have been looking down at the ground, we'd have never known it was there.
Fred and I pulled over on the side of the road on County Road 43 and stopped our patrol car, shut the engine off and got out. And at that time, the object came directly over our patrol car, and we were looking up underneath it. And the object appeared to me that it was some 1,000, 1,500 feet higher, had 3 real bright lights underneath it that were shining not on the ground to illuminate the ground, but shining back up underneath the craft to illuminate the craft itself. And there was some lights around what I call the face of the craft or the crown of it, whatever you may call it, appeared looking up through the glare of those other lights, maybe green, blue, or red, or some of them might have been white. It was a large craft, and it had no sound whatsoever. It just continuously didn't descend or pick up any speed or anything, just a steady speed just right over us. And went right on out of sight. Sometime after that now, after 89 of February the 10th, we had several calls. The night of February the 10th, we had several calls, and they've been scattered reports ever since then. I had a person come in just last night. Marty Roberts in a Roebuck area came in, and he described this object to me and drew me a diagram of it on a paper, and it was something similar to what I had seen on February the 10th of 89. And he's seen that this past date.
In 1989 and 1990, there were numerous sightings of a UFO in Belgium by more than 2,000 civilians and numerous police patrols. It was a triangular object with 3 lights at the top and 1 in the center. It was flying silently at very low altitude, just above the ground.
Над Самарой очевидцы наблюдали аналог этого объекта. Вот такой треугольный предмет с огнями и с такими импульсами, выражающими движение.
A Clermont County resident recorded several minutes of home video footage showing an object comprised of 4 headlights in a triangular arrangement. The soundless object seems to demonstrate a rolling motion that would appear to place a conventional aircraft in an upside-down inverted pitch at the conclusion of the maneuver. The videotape and the claim was thoroughly investigated, and others in the same area also told of similar occurrences in the weeks before and after the recording was made. Unknown triangular-shaped objects have been reported in all parts of the world. This object, similar in appearance to the Clermont County recording, was photographed over Belgium. This videotape was taken in 1981 over the Soviet Union. Compare the similarities. Are these secretive military aircrafts? And if so, why are they parading about residential areas, performing odd maneuvers, and shining brilliant headlight beams for all to see?
Like, holy crap, look! And it was a perfect triangle just floating across the sky, way up there. Aliens, first thing that I thought, but it scared the heck out of me.
I think it was a spaceship of some sort, because, I mean, I've never seen anything like that before.
Just right up there, and then it flew like right across over and down that way.
I watched 2 jets come out of Luke, and they come out real quick. They had their afterburners on. They had huge flames coming off of them. And then as soon as those 2 were airborne, another one come out, a third one come out from behind it. And as soon as they were airborne, all 3 jets made an abrupt turn and headed for the closest object to the base, which was in the southwest. And as soon as the jets got to the object, it shot straight up and disappeared right in front of me.
The right arm of the object went directly over this house, over the property, and the left arm of that was probably about 2.5 blocks over in that direction. So when it came over, it pretty much dominated this whole quarter of this little valley up here.
You could see that between the lights on each arm was solid. There was no stars. You could not see any stars between each light.
When it came over, it wasn't moving or wavering back and forth. It wasn't floating or jumping. It almost was like a computer simulation of some kind. It was so straight.
There were huge orbs of light, and my impression was that this object was very close, that it was going to land or crash on the street. And that's what really got our attention. And then it went straight up and over us where it was formed a V formation.
It was close enough to feel that it could set down over top of the mall and cover it. It was that big.
Some witnesses will even tell you they ducked when they first saw it because they thought it was going to hit them. That's how low it was. No noise whatsoever and very huge. I got to see the total side view of it where I got to say that this thing's close to a mile long.
I do not know what that was. It was not consistent with any aircraft that I know of the way it was.
It was at least big as a football field, at least.
As it got closer,
it got kind of spooky because there was no noise with it. It was completely silent.
No noise, not a sound, not a sound, totally quiet.
You heard nothing, absolutely nothing.
No noise, no noise.
Hundreds of witnesses report the same thing, a huge, silent, V-shaped object. It was spotted from Henderson, Nevada, through Prescott, across Phoenix, and on down to Tucson.
It was both terrible and tremendous. It was. It had a thrill about it to see something like that in the sky, and yet it was a shock.
Max and Shala Saracen spotted the object about 8:20 while driving home from a shopping trip.
We got out of our car and then just looked up, and then it just came right over our heads. It was unbelievable. Unbelievable. So the lights went like this, and it was 2 miles between these 2 points.
The object was captured by one video camera. What it doesn't show you is the huge size of the thing people say they saw. But this video matches the descriptions offered by witness after witness. What did all those people see passing over them in Phoenix that March 13th? And what was the huge light display at 10 o'clock at night? More than 1 year later, there are still more questions than answers, and plenty of controversy.
I turned off the overhead lights, the headlights, turned off the car, and got out of the car on the driver's side. I was standing over here when it got closer. That's when I was able to discern the actual shape, the triangle, and so forth. When it got about approximately 150, 200 foot south of my location and about 1,000, 1,500 foot high off the ground is when it made the flat turn, started heading southwest again very, very slowly, almost like a floating or a moving hovering. I reached back in the car, picked up my radio to tell CENTCOM where it was at and so forth. And when I looked up again, which is spaced about 2 to 3 seconds, it was already over Shiloh, which is about 6 to 7 miles to the southwest.
CENTCOM 5404. I had looked up in the sky and observed this huge arrow-shaped, triangular-shaped object just floating in the sky right in the open field right over here. And it had 3 big bright lights lighting up the entire sky just beneath the flying object. And it was just floating gradually west-southerly along this field over here at a gradual, slow speed. And as I stopped right up the road here to get out and see if I could get a picture or observe it better, the object, with unexplainably in the naked eye, was just from gradually moving to all the way down in the field, like within the snap of a finger or a wink of the eye. And there was no sound. I had my window down. The radio was off, and there was no sounds, nothing coming from the flying object. And it was every bit of 75 to 100 yards that appeared to be wide. I didn't get a very good look at the length-wise. Next thing you know, it just was down the road.
For the size of the object, it was moving very slowly. Only about 500 to 1,000 feet off the ground. It was very low, so I got a real good look at it. There were 3 lights to the rear of the object, one in the center and one on either side, on the right and left side. And then in the center of the rear, in the concave section, it was like a strobing white light that got bright and then dimmed off as the strobing effect went across. Then on the bottom center of the object, I observed it was a red blinking light. It headed straight to the north, and then as it banked, it made a distinct tilt, and then it turned and went toward the St. Louis Depot direction, which would be to the northwest.
So that you saw a distinct bank.
Yes, it didn't sway in the wind or anything like a blimp possibly would. So I hopped out of my patrol car, went to the rear of the trunk, grabbed the Polaroid, and snapped a quick picture of it as it headed to the north.
What does it look like to you?
It's kind of V-shaped. Looks like it's possibly headed toward Lambert.
Snapped the picture. It was cold out, and Polaroid camera didn't work real well, and with the coldness and being just a Polaroid camera and not real good night.
There's no doubt that the witnesses of this UFO saw a triangular-shaped aircraft, approximately a football field in length, and it moved in total silence. On 2 occasions it achieved a rate of speed which left the witnesses dumbfounded and unable to understand how a massive object could relocate itself miles away in a matter of seconds.
Maybe 2 to 3 seconds tops. 2 to 3 seconds tops. Because in the case I was outside, I was watching, then I reached in to get the mic, again to let CENTCOM know because our portables aren't that reliable. And when I got back up to tell him, I looked and it was already over Shiloh, and that's about 6 to 7 miles away, which again was approximately 1.5, 2 miles north of Scott Air Force Base.
The whole time I saw it, I had my windows rolled down, and I didn't have the radio going or nothing like that. And the thing, it was just like a slow moving when I saw it. And I was only at the time going probably about 20 miles an hour or so in my car. And as I pulled over to get out of my car, it was like just within the snap of the finger, it was way down, way down the other side of town. And I just stood there and looked at myself, and I'm like, okay, it was just here, and now it's way down there. How did it do that? And it was amazing.
And there was no sound?
Not a sound at all. None whatsoever.
I never shut my patrol car off at any time, but I did exit my vehicle when I took the picture, and I could hear coming from the vehicle, it was a low-frequency buzzing noise. Almost sound like a low frequency, like a transformer on an electrical pole would make, only a little lower decibel than that. I could hear as it passed. As it went off, I lost the sense of the sound, of course. But
Being a military brat for 21 years and being in aircraft anyways, I can pretty much tell you what kind of plane it is by the engine noise. And then I figured I would call Scott myself and say, hey, look, we got some pilot hot dogging out here, that kind of thing. And there was no noise, none. And when I read reports that the military was saying, well, if it was a B-2 with its flaps down, blah, 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 well, okay, that's fine, but they still make noise. I mean, that's the most, but yeah, you can't see them on radar, but they make noise. All aircraft that I know of, and again, I don't know of all the R&D aircraft, however, all the ones that I do know of, they make some kind of noise.
I could actually tell like some kind of figures on the bottom of it, as in some kind of a style of crafting or steel. Almost like I said, building blocks are put together. It just almost looked like it was put together in pieces. It wasn't one smooth bottom. It's like almost like pipes. When you're putting your plumbing together.
It's hard to explain. It's like it tried to camouflage itself against the night sky, because you could tell it was black and metallic in color, but you could almost, like it was trying to project the star field above it on the underside.
After subjecting Officer Stevens' photo to computer enhancement, no outline of the UFO could be defined. However, when the blurred streaks of light from camera movement are removed, the 3 brightest lights noted in Officer Stevens' sketch can be discerned in the photo. Only the center light is skewed due to camera angle, which can be resolved when an illustration is superimposed over the photo. Both Lebanon Officer Barton and Millstadt Officer Stevens' sketches reveal an array of white light across the rear of the craft. One can theorize that the UFO's light sources are linked to some kind of propulsion technology. The question is, whose technology?
Belgian Air Force General Charles de Bruer held a press conference on the 18th of December 1989 to confirm that they had intercepted UFOs. His written report states, there were no signs of danger. The mystery of their origin remains, but the phenomena exists. It is real.
A été contacté plusieurs fois pour demander s'ils avaient des observations au radar aussi. Et nous avons donc les 2 radars ont
The UFO sighted over Belgium is very similar to that sighted over Ticino by our Swiss housewife, and the UFOs filmed over Pueblo in Mexico.
Initially, we thought that some of these observations were caused by atmospheric interference, such as weather conditions or electromagnetic interference. But later on, we found out that at certain moments, indeed, we could relate one visual observation with one observation on the radar. And of course then we said, well, to have a confirmation, it may be very useful to have an additional observation from an aircraft.
The aircraft were deployed as part of a routine training program. Most times nothing was seen, except on one particular night.
The night 30 and 31st March, we had an observation on the radar, and in addition, a visual observation on the ground confirmed by the police. We decided to send 2 airplanes in the air around midnight.
This video of the F-16's radar track of the object showed the performance of a vehicle of a totally unknown origin. The Air Force were at a complete loss to explain their findings. A press conference was called.
What these pilots detected was well outside the normal flying envelope of an airplane. Sometimes they had what we call lock-ons, which gave a parameters varying from speeds between 150 knots till 990 knots. An acceleration which occurred in a few seconds.
The Americans denied it was a secret spy plane, so could it have been the first official contact with an alien craft?
These speeds would be impossible to tolerate for a human being. That's a first point. A second point is the visual observations always describe a system, a machine, which hangs and hovers above the surface at quite a low altitude without making any noise. Now, with the current technology, that will be impossible.
We're all trying to find answers. We all know there's something happening. We've known it for many, many years, and we've been slowly but surely gleaning information which is leading us to a conclusion which we are going to, without doubt, come to in very, very quick time. We are going to know the answer to this. Make no mistake about it, ladies and gentlemen, in very, very quick time. Of that I'm in no doubt. Things are building up so fast now in all parts of the world. The authorities are not going to be able to keep this thing down much longer. They've done a hell of a good job over the last few years, but they just cannot keep this thing down much longer. What I intend to do today, initially, I'm going to play an audio tape to you of an interview I did with a Belgian F-16 pilot who was, amongst his friends over in Belgium, scrambled to intercept UFOs over Belgium. These were the giant triangles which Belgium were getting about 91, 92. I've had this, he came to my home with an English fighter pilot, and they allowed me to do an interview with him and record it, but at that time I wasn't permitted to release it. I have now been given the go-ahead that this thing can be released. This pilot has cleared it with his own side, his own country, and so I thought it would be something worthwhile for you to listen to. On how these F-16s were scrambled, that these things are real UFOs and that they are intelligently controlled vehicles. If we put the tape on now, please. You will see some footage of taken in Belgium of these triangular objects at this particular time.
Something like that. What I actually spotted lots of people was a kind of triangular thing with these things really big spotted lights which showed downwards. That was really the shape how everybody explained it actually.
Yeah, triangular with the light on each corner.
Yeah.
On each point, yeah.
So really hovering around at really like we said 30 feet or what, really low.
Yeah.
And just going away. Then the Belgians they began to take things a bit more seriously, and I was at that time. I was based in Bourges, which is on F-16s, a fighter base, and we have always a QRA with 2 F-16s ready to scramble within 10 minutes after an emergency call. what happened was I began to take things more seriously, and I had already some colleagues who were scrambled. Just people saw it on the ground, reported to the police. Police reported it to our base, and then we always scrambled. Every scramble happened, let's say, about 9 to 10 o'clock in the evening. So it was always dark.
Yeah.
And some colleagues of mine, well, they got already some intercepts, and then it was about my turn actually. So in the evening, just we got scrambled. Clear day, very nice weather, but very foggy on very low levels. We got scrambled. I straight had the feeling, well, this is for real, because it was really too foggy to do an exercise.
Sure.
So, but anyway, you get scrambled and one's airborne. You always fly in pair with a two-ship, and then you get the instructions, and then, well, they gave us the vectors for where the target was, which was in this case, well, this thing, an identified flying object. We went to there, and we got it eventually very, very nice on the radar. The radar picture, well, I'm sure you'll get the cassette later on. I'll give the phone number next week via doc. It gives the altitude, it gives the speed, the direction, everything you need to know what the UFO is doing actually. At the time we picked it up, it was low to medium level. I mean with that from 1,000 feet to 10,000 feet was about 5,000 feet actually. Very, very slow speed, and well, almost hovering in fact, and just traveling a bit 50 knots or what, very at ease.
What range was?
The range was eventually, when we picked it up, 30 miles out, 40 miles out. Then we got an initial search, and at 30 miles out we definitely had a lock on the thing. We closed in, and what happened with the other colleagues as well is it stays very calm, and it has, you always get the feeling it has everything under control till it says, well, now it's enough. And always happened. I think with me it was about 18 miles out that the thing just decides, okay, this is enough. Get an increase of airspeed from 50 to 100 miles an hour straight to well, let's say Mach 8, Mach 9, Mach 10, incredibly. And the altitude, well, it went from 5,000 feet straight up to 60, 70,000 foot just in a split seconds. At that moment, of course, was, well, we got it initially, you see the reaction on the radar, and then just brake locks, because it can't really follow that.
Yeah.
And that was it. We came back. I straight had to hand in, of course, the tape, and
sure.
That's actually what happened in a few words.
Can you get any indication of size from your radar screen of the target? You can't do that.
No, because the size, well, because if we well, blip is a blip, and
sure.
we can put the angle of the radar really downwards. We can even pick up cars.
I see.
So
I see.
it's really.
So it could have been very large. It could have been.
Yeah, the amazing thing is the call comes from people on the ground to say, well, because actually the thing I was searching for was pretty close to the town of Liège, and people saw it on the ground. Well, they estimate people on the ground who saw it, well, it's really a huge thing.
Yeah.
Well, like we discussed before, they're all quite huge, quite big.
Yeah.
And well, no messing about, because the initial vectors we got was from the sightings on the ground, and then we picked it up on radar. So we were definitely talking about this triangular shaped thing.
Right. And was it, from your point of view, did it appear to be under intelligent control?
Well, like I said, it really knew what was going on, because it sits there, it waits till we approach, till 20 miles out, and then it says, okay, this is close enough, guys, we are gone. So you really have the feeling, I had that feeling that night, well, we are just chasing after something that's really playing with us, and that has complete control of everything.
Slides, please. I don't know whether you all heard it plainly, ladies and gentlemen. That's only a part of the interview. But I think the pertinent points of the interview are that, first of all, as far as they were concerned, the ground radar had got the object, the aircraft radar had got the object, excuse me. It allows them to get so close to it, then suddenly jumps from 13,000 feet to 60 to 70,000 feet in 1 second. And I think another pertinent point which he mentioned was that they appear to be in control. They're playing games with our aircraft, which is very interesting. And this obviously was just one incident which we were talking about, but he did talk about many other incidents involving other fighter planes who were playing this cat and mouse game with these strange UFOs, and they certainly say that they are the triangular ones.